psychopathic scientist injected the python's genes into his assistant's body. Soon the assistant's body began to mutate and scales grew on the surface of his skin, and his limbs gradually deteriorated. Just as he was about to turn into a snake, he farted. The effect of the drug also evaporated. The assistant became a half-human, half-snake monster. Disappointed, Carl sold his deformed assistant to the circus, where he became a monster for all to see. But Carl wanted to continue his experiments and immediately recruited a new assistant. David visits Carl's laboratory, which houses a variety of hybridized animals. David wasn't scared. He was also a fan of strange and bizarre research, which is why he came to Carl's lab. Carl said his main research is on snakes, so he keeps all kinds of venomous snakes in his lab. For David's safety, he had to inject him with a serum first. David had no idea of the extent of Carl's perversions and accepted the injection without any defense. Soon he felt dizzy. Carl said it was a normal reaction and that he might have a fever by nightfall. Sure enough, David came home with a fever. He woke up 2 days later and his face began to mold. He rushed to Carl for help. Carl helped him to tear the skin off his body and reassured him that it would be fine after molting. In fact, Carl changed the method of the experiment. He chose to give David a small number of injections, so David's reaction was not strong. Carl offered to give him a second shot of serum, and he didn't notice anything unusual. He just started to like staring at the snakes and feeling very close to them. And that's how he started a relationship with Carl's daughter while he was working for Carl. While they were dating, they heard about a circus that had a snake charmer exhibit. David became very interested, but Anna had an aversion to snakes because of her father. So David went to see for himself. There was a snake man on display at the circus. It had the outline of a human, but its body was covered in greenish snake skin and its limbs seemed to be incompletely degraded. It was suspected to be a handicapped person. David's heart suddenly began to tremble at the sight of it. When he came out of the circus, he found Anna being pestered by another man. He rushed over to stop him. A fight broke out between the two men, which only stopped when the security guards were alerted. With a grudge, the man followed them home. In the dead of night, he climbed up to Anna's bedroom window. Anna was awakened and screamed. At that moment, a poisonous snake was coiled on the windowsill. It wrapped itself around the man's arm. The man was so frightened that he killed the snake. Carl and David were awakened, and he could only leave in anger. Carl saw his favorite snake tie and swore he'd never let him go. He took the most poisonous snake he could find to the man's house. The man is in the shower, unsuspecting. Carl throws the snake into the shower. After a few terrified screams, the man died of poison. Carl took the baby back into his bag and left without a word. But the next day, the police came to the door. It wasn't about the man. It was about Carl's former assistant. The assistant's family found out he'd been missing for over a month and that he worked for Carl before he disappeared. Carl said he had left a long time ago and he hadn't seen him since. The police had no choice but to return. But the arrival of the police was a wake-up call to Carl that he had to speed up his experiments. To do so, he sent Anna out of town to get his stuff. After leaving Anna, he immediately found David and quietly increased the dosage, still under the pretext of injecting the serum. Soon David's skin began to turn green. Carl said it was just a mild side effect. David believed it again, not knowing that he was about to have a species-breaking mutation. The man's skin began to turn green, and scaly marks appeared. He questioned Carl, the scientist. Carl tricked him into drinking an antidote, which was the last of the mutation-inducing drugs. Then Carl locked him in the lab. At that moment, David's father came to see him. Carl told him that David had quit his job and dismissed him with a few words. But the father wasn't stupid. David had said he was coming to work this morning. He went outside the lab with doubts and saw David through the window. But David's face had changed a lot. Before they can react, Carl knocks him out with a stick. David realized he'd been tricked. He was just a test subject for Carl. He thought of the half-human, half-snake monster in the circus, and he was horrified inside. On the other hand, Anna finds her father's friend and is told that she is nothing for Carl. He also asked Carl if he was still working on snakes. Seeing Anna's puzzled face, he asked her to go to the circus to see the snake man. Anna had a bad feeling. She rushed to the circus and finally saw the so-called snake man. She recognized him as her father's ex-assistant, who had turned him into such a thing. Wouldn't David be in danger? By now, David had begun to mutate. With fewer and fewer human features on him, he was metamorphosing at an extremely fast pace. In just a few minutes, he's completely transformed into a cobra. The experiment was a success. Carl was very excited. He takes David outside, but David hates him so much, he finds the right moment to bite him. Kara, the pervert, died in the mouth of his favorite viper, and deservedly so, but the meerkats in the lab were on to David. The mongoose had been feeding on snakes, and the sight of David had whetted his appetite. When Anna and the police arrived at the house, they first saw Carl's body, and then saw David as the mongoose food. The police didn't realize that the viper was a person, and pulled the trigger in horror. Poor David and the meerkats were killed. Anna, the only one who knew the truth, couldn't speak.